And for John Armstrong's sake, it's a new card plot. Here's what we do. We first start off by shuffling the cards, and we have two spectators on the left and right of me, and they will both assist me with this effect. And the idea is this, that in life and in everything around us, there's both good and evil, yin and yang. And so let's use how they influence each other, because there's dark that influences light, and vice versa. We're going to use influence of how they're interconnected subconsciously and consciously to be able to help us with this card trick. I'll explain what I mean. We're going to go to a spectator on my right, and they will, without showing it to the audience, actually point to a card they like. So let's say they like this card, this particular card. They go, yes, yes, and we'll place it face down between the 3 of clubs and the 7 of clubs. We'll leave it right there. And to confirm it, because we're doing imaginary spectators, I will put a prediction or what they had put down right here. But normally it would be the spectator would normally be able to keep it subconsciously. But this is their thought. Okay? Leave the thought with them right here. Okay, so it's right here between the 3 of clubs, and the 7 of clubs, right there. Okay, so we're also going to need a spectator on the left to be able to use their conscious mind to be able to point to any card. So they point to, let's say, this one right here. You go, you sure? And then you can actually show this one to the audience. Hopefully everyone can see it, except the person who's subconsciously thinking of their card. They're turned away. They cannot see anything. Okay, and you show this card off to everyone. We can leave it back in the pack. And just remember that there was one card that was between the 3 of clubs and the 7 of clubs right here. There was one card amongst all the others, and there's no extras. We'll actually leave all the rest of the cards, the conscious mind's cards, right here. Now they're separated. And you can actually mention for the first time to the spectator on the right, what was the card you had turned down and were thinking of? And they would say, the 4 of hearts. Now the audience on the left, the audience and the person on the left are reacting because that is the card they had picked later. A little bit odd. And before you even turn over this card, I actually want to check it out to see if their card is in the conscious side. They see 10 of clubs, 7 of hearts, joker, jack clubs, and they look all the way through and they do not see a single 4 of hearts. And you can spread on through. And you see there's one face down card from the subconscious mind. And that is the 4 of hearts. My name is Dan. You have a good one. Hope you enjoyed that last card trick. That was Lala's Loony, inspired by a Paul Harris effect, which I didn't fully read about. Sounds ironic, but I was more inspired by Wayne Houchin's expression towards it, and it's like his thoughts at the intro of how it's like an impossible trick trying to grasp, and that ultimately was what started this weird card effect that's now like a new card plot, essentially. I've never seen anything like it, nor near it, and the clarity at which you can do it at is pretty cool. There was one thing I forgot to mention, and it was clarity itself, by saying, well, to represent the yin and the yang, we'll have half the pack face up and half the pack face down. But you know how performance is. It gets complicated. I need to work on it. Whatever. So we mentioned the yin and the yang, good and evil, and we can go on about that, how depending on your presentation, how you want to go about it. And we say the representation will be by turning half the pack face up, half the pack face down, and it'll be a good representation of the yin and the yang. Now, like before, we spread through the cards face up, and I should mention you will need to be able to be competent in multiple uses of the spread call, which we'll go into right now. And if you're not, buy the Roadrunner Call by Kotsia Kinlot, as I stress in nearly every card episode of the jam sessions. So we spread on through, and let's say I'm going to go for, let's say for context, let's actually use the 4 hearts again, just because that was so easy to use. Let's flip it over here. So it saves us time writing another prediction and everything. So 4 hearts. So you turn towards the spectre on left. The situation is this: you say the spectre on left. I'm gonna have a card. You're going to choose a card, and this will be with your subconscious mind, and they point to any card they want. And just to say for clarity, we'll use the 4 hearts again, and you can even reposition it. It's your card trick. You do what you want. And so you can get between 2 black cards to make it clear where it was in between. So in this case, the 4 clubs and the 5 clubs. You do not show this to the audience at all. This is with subconscious mind, only they know it. So you place this 4 hearts face down, make sure no one's outside the person on the left sees it, and you leave it right here. Okay? And so they can, and make sure you clearly show it's between the 4 and the 5. You stress it. This will be important later. Makes it a little bit more difficult, but it adds to the effect. Okay? Now, as we're going to go towards the face down cards to have a card select on the right. As we do so, we call out the same card we put face down into there. So now there's no cards between the 4 and the 5, but because we're pushing beyond, no one notices that slight discrepancy. We go to another person on the right. We tell the person on the left to turn away. They look away. And now we push off some cards, and they can truly touch anyone they want face down. So let's say they touch this one right here. Then you do the spread call force, which was featured in Brainstorm Volume 2? 1 or 2 by John Guastafaro. That was featured in there. So basically we have the card underneath. The card was cold all the way to this point, the one the spectre on left chose. Now we had the card touched. They chose this one. Then we come up to show it where we square in to the pack, and then we display the bottommost card, which we called, which is the 4 of hearts. Now the whole audience sees it, the person on the right sees it, the person on the left doesn't, and all is copacetic. They just chose the force card, or you forced this card, which was a free choice over here to here. Okay, so we show it, and then we come down and we cull it back to the bottom of the pack, which is right here. Crazy we're doing all this with one cull. It seems like there's no moves. I've gotten a lot of magicians confused about this, and it's all with the spread cull. Now, in multiple different ways. So again, I'll do it one more time. So we've culled this card, and now they touched any one right here, and then we come up and show it, and then we come down and we cull this card to the bottom. I'm not going to explain the spread cull here. Learn that on Roadrunner Cull by Kotze Kimlot. So now we're in this position. Pack is face down. The card we forced on people, there was the selection over here, is on bottom. We know that the card is between the 4 and the 5 clubs, if you can remember that. That's why I choose 2 black cards, it's easy to remember. And the rest of the pack's face up. Now we say, now remember, and we spread through to the card, and now we do a Wichita force or Wichita spread thing. In this case, I'll actually kind of explain this one. So as we spread the cards, we get the bottom card, and we push it out, hiding underneath the spread. Okay? So, in action. Okay? And in real time, you can up jog a couple cards to create more cover if you need it be, and then just push off the bottom card. It slides underneath. No one can notice it. It's the sounds with cards, so you're fine. And then go on through. Now, as we're pushing on through, we're going to get an early peek at the 4 and the 5. We start to notice it starts to come up. And because cards can be sticky or come together or not spread very well, we're going to use that discrepancy of common knowledge to our advantage. So as we spread on through and we're coming up to the 4, we have our cull card underneath, which we got from the bottom. Now it's culled underneath. Now as we come to the 4 and the 5, we come right underneath the 4 and add that culled card right back into there. So we're all copacetic. So as we push with some pressure, it looks like it was just stuck up on the 4 or whatever. In action, I'll do it in action. It looks like this. So we got right here. Let me just start the beginning. Okay, we got the card right there, and actually look bad. I'm rushing it too fast. You gotta be gentle with it. Okay, and so we got the card underneath. We notice we're coming up to the 4. It was the 4 and the 5. So then we come up to it, we add the culled card underneath the 4 and the 5. And you don't want it to be like this. You don't want it to be like this. That would be bad. We want it to just be adjusted pretty much just right. So as we push off, it looks like we're pushing off, and we suddenly reveal the 4 in between the 4 and the 5. And we can emphasize it again, and remember there was a card in between the 4 and the 5. Which is technically true, I guess. And then we can push off the rest of the cards, keeping this in a very, very open display. And then we can turn the other cards, the conscious side cards, face up, like so. We display it, and we say, before we reveal this card, we ask the spectator, what was the card you had touched in the very beginning, you had memorized, on the left, and they will mention the 4 of Hearts, which is this card. And you could reveal it right now, but you want to build it on up. I mean, you could just, alternate ending, and you could play it with yourself. You'd say, and yeah, it was really the 4 of Hearts, and you can just take it out right there. And then you can spread on through. It really has vanished, re-emphasizing it. But that's kind of, it's really anticlimactic if you think about it. Now I have to re-emphasize that it really did go. No, I'd rather build it up and then give a huge release. Innuendos partially intended. So, we got the 4 and the 5 and the card right here. And then we say, and the conscious mind, let me know if you see your card. So they mention the 4 of Hearts. We reveal the 4 of Hearts. I'm only doing this one because the spectator is not here, but they would normally say it audibly. Then they check around. They look, the conscious mind, and where they originally selected the card, it's gone. And we mentioned since the beginning for clarity, so we know that it was in the upper top packet in the beginning. It never moved from its position. Mention the 4 and the 5 of clubs. And then we can spread through all the cards, or spread through like this, your choice. Spread through, and then show the 4 of Hearts. And you're in for an amazing finish. It's a build-up, and then it's like the conscious and the subconscious mind are connected through the means of a card trick. Which is kind of weird, but also pretty amazing at the same time. I don't know. I like it. And I hope John Armstrong does too, which was one of the reasons for creating such a weird card trick, was so that John Armstrong could seriously have a new little card plot to play with and tweak and make better than mine, because he is freaking amazing and I look up to him. Anyways, with all that said, I hope you're having a good one during these wary times, and catch you later.